Hello there. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by SpinGo. I'm Jeff Liu, and thank you for joining us. This is a free monthly webinar series where we present ideas and methods to help event makers promote, market, and manage their events. Today we are discussing ideas about how to create effective landing pages. Before we get started, please note that you are welcome to submit any questions or comments you have via the GoToWebinar panel. We'll be having a brief Q&A following the presentation to answer those questions. We're also recording today's session, which will be available later for on-demand viewing. Look out for an email with the video link sometime after the conclusion of this webinar. Today, we're so delighted to be joined by Jessie Warner, the General Manager and Head of Marketing at SpinGo. Jessie has been helping businesses market their products and services online for nearly 10 years. Since joining SpinGo, he has overseen more than 500 unique event marketing campaigns and is an expert in campaign planning, online advertising, and landing page design. I have the privilege of working with Jessie, and I can tell you firsthand that he's not just a marketing genius, but he's an all-around great guy. Jessie, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm really excited to be here and to be able to present on this topic. We get a lot of feedback around this topic and questions as we create campaigns for different event organizers. And so it's a really good topic, and I hope you find it beneficial. So, if you're not familiar with SpinGo, one of the things that we do here at SpinGo is we help event organizers promote their events. And when we talk about the event life cycle, we're really talking about a few different things. We're talking about, hey, first you got to create an attractive event, good lineup, good food. You got to create this experience, right? And that's what you guys are so good at. You're so good at creating events that just are awesome to attend, that are fun, that are good. Where many of us fail, though, is when we get to that, is how do you tell that story online, and how do you create a compelling story to entice attendees? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Once we can get a compelling landing page and a good landing page, we're going to go promote that. And so we want to drive awareness. We want to educate the audience. We want to provide an easy way for them to buy tickets and to make sure that the logistics are really smooth. So a lot of our focus at SpinGo is around this promotion side, and we promote in a variety of different ways through local news and media sites, Google, Facebook. We have our partner event calendars on spingo.com. We have a mobile app. We have a network on Twitter for our Twitter blasts, and that's how we promote it. And so we spend a lot of money and time and energy in the promotion of the campaign, and maybe not as much time in building the story and creating the landing page. So that topic will be just a really good topic that I want to talk about today. So the presentation, we're going to talk about three different things. One, we want to talk about the psychology of a landing page. We're going to go through about 10 examples of good and bad event landing pages. And then we're going to talk about the build, measure, learn feedback loop and what that means. So, psychology is an interesting thing. Just take a minute, look at this slide. It says, look left. And then what do? Your eye follows the arrow, and it says you failed, right? So there's this thing called the didactic gaze that messes with our mind, right? It's telling us to look left, but we go right because the arrows point us right. And it's these directional cues in our brains that we just do it. Our mind just thinks that way. So when you think about the psychology of a landing page and directional cues, this is a great example here. There was a study performed by Usable World that used an image of a baby and his gaze to see whether or not this would impact where a visitor would look on arriving on the page. There was about 106 people that did this study. So the first picture is a heat map of the page where the baby is looking straight ahead, and the red spots show how much time visitors spent on a particular spot. So when you look at the one on the left, almost everybody immediately went and looked straight at the baby's face. Well, when they did another test and they had the baby looking at the content, notice what happened. The eyes most of the time went directly to the baby, but then they followed and they changed and went right up to the content and actually went through and read the content all the way through. Where on the left, you can see that it was almost just solely focused on the baby. These directional cues in your landing pages can have a big impact on whether or not you can actually convert visitors to paying purchasing customers. And so we want to use directional cues in our landing pages and use the psychology of these cues in the way we think about it. Another psychological element here is this idea of social proof. So there was another study done in 1969 by S. Milgram, Bickman, and Berkowitz, and it was performed on the streets of New York City. A man is standing looking up in the air. So you look, the one on the left, just one man looking up. And the goal of the experiment is to see if social proof played a part in the reactions of passerbyers. So in this case, the single man standing in the street, most people just walk by. They wouldn't pay any attention. But on the one on the right, when a group of people started staring and it increased to 5, people started reacting and joining in. So they started to look up as well. When the participants increased to 18 people, there was actually a 400% lift in people stopping to join the crowd. So the more people looking up, the more social proof that, hey, there's actually something in the air. Who knows what they're looking at? But if you have 5 people and then 18 people, almost the entire group provides this kind of social proof. This is true inside of your landing page as well. And there's different ways you can provide social proof on your landing page. One example, for example, is a testimonial or a video. If you show a video of people having fun at your event, you're providing social proof that your event is in fact fun and people go and have fun at your event, right? Another psychological element of a landing page is urgency and scarcity. Here are 3 different examples of urgency and scarcity, and it has an impact of creating action. So when you look at this, when you think of the Catcher in the Rye, and you see this want it Friday, May 10th, order in 21 hours and get 1-day shipping at checkout, right? So what they're doing is they're creating this promotional offer saying, hey, you've only got a limited time to make the checkout or you don't qualify. So you get this feeling of missing out. And this feeling of missing out is a psychological element of your page. You look at the one at the where there's a airline ticket. It says only 3 tickets left at this price. So you're thinking, oh man, if I don't get this price right now, then I'm never going to get it, right? Or I'm not going to be able to get this flight and I'm going to be out. And the one in Ticketmaster is saying, hey, you only have 3 minutes and 54 seconds before your ticket is gone. And so, you get this, oh man, I better hurry or my reservation's not going to be there. And then I'm going to disappoint my wife because she really wanted to go to this concert. And what you do is you create this urgency that causes action. And this idea of scarcity and urgency isn't used nearly as well as it should be in a lot of our event landing pages. Contrast and color from another psychological element. Thinking about contrast and color, you look at the picture on the left and the contrast is so extreme you can't help but look at it. And your eye goes right to the blue. You see this bright contrast of this brown and grays and blacks and then blue, right? And this really bright blue. We can do the same thing on our landing page, especially with our call to action with like our registration buttons. So you look at the one on the right, that bright red against the dark background, that creates contrast and it points your eye and gives you directional cues on what should happen next. Last thing I want to talk about from a psychology perspective is just the impact of color. The colors you choose to use on your landing page also make a big difference in the emotion you're trying to create for the user or for the visitor of your site. So for example, if you want to give the feeling of excitement and fun, you may consider using reds, yellows, and light blues. If you're putting together a business conference, you'd probably want to use colors like dark blue, gray, and white. You notice that dark blue has a stable, calming, trustworthy kind of feeling, and a gray shows integrity and matureness, right? And for businesses, that's really important. Our brains are trained to associate colors with emotions, and these emotions are triggered without us even thinking about it. Think about, for example, McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. They use colors in their logos because those reds and yellows actually trigger a hunger response now. Our brains are trained to think and feel certain ways with different colors. So using colors in your landing pages will be an important part of how you think about the psychology of a landing page. So some key psychology takeaways. 1, use directional cues. 2, leverage social proof. 3, create urgency and scarcity. 4, use contrast to highlight important items. And 5, utilize colors to create emotion in your design. So moving from the psychology, and some of the psychology you're going to see is coming back into the elements of a landing page. But when you're thinking about a good landing page for your event, there's some elements you need to have. One, you need a clear value proposition. You need a compelling story. You need to make sure your event details are easy to find. You want a concise call to action. It should be really easy to register and purchase tickets. It should have a mobile-friendly design. Mobile has increased so much over the past several years, and you lose a lot by not having a mobile-friendly design. It should be highly shareable. People should want to talk about it. It should create some controversy and emotion and energy. You should use social proof. Use testimonials and videos to create that. Use urgency and scarcity in it. Make sure you have a clean design. There's not too much going on. And then limiting the exit points on it. So exit points are anywhere that they could click besides the place that you're trying to get them to click. So I want to go through some examples here with you, and as we go through them, I want to think about the blink test. So the blink test is the 3 to 5 seconds during which a visitor lands on your page, judges it, and decides whether or not to learn more or abandon the ship. 3 to 5 seconds. You have 3 to 5 seconds to capture the attention of this visitor, or they're gone and they bounce and you can never get them back. So the way you build your site is going to have a lot to do with that. So how does your landing page compare? I picked 10 different examples, and these are real examples, and it's just really interesting to walk through some of these. So we'll go through them together. Here's example 1. So I'm on the SpinGo calendar, and many of your events appear on these calendars all over the country. And I decide, okay, I'm going to look at this UVU School of the Arts. So Utah Valley University, there's this event called the Fat Lady Sings. All right, so this little window that pops up shows, okay, it's an opera. Delight in our evening of fully staged scenes. All right, it looks interesting. Maybe I click the Get Info button. And then I come to this page. Here's the landing page for this event. Okay, so where am I? These are the questions that go through my mind when I see this page. Where am I? Didn't I click a link about the Fat Lady Sings? Why am I at the School of the Arts page? Where are the event details? Where's the compelling story and the clear value proposition? What do you want me to do next? How do I buy tickets? Nothing about this makes me want to share it. There's no social proof at all. In fact, where is the event? Turns out it's right there on the left. So the only thing that talks about this event at all is that, hey, the Fat Lady Sings, buy tickets. But for me, it didn't do anything. And I think so many of our sites point to these more generic, like, hey, here's a list of all the events we're doing, but we don't talk about the actual event that we're trying to promote. Example 2. So here's a country music concert with Dani Marie and Carter Winter. It looks like it's in San Diego, California. Okay, so I clicked on the link. The page here is much better than the previous example. You've got some good pictures, you've got a video, you've got some information. At least you're telling some story over here. And this is their first touch. And they're saying, okay, great, this looks really interesting. I want to get more information. So I click the link, get more info, and then I go to this page. And here's the Dani Marie website. So here are some thoughts I had. This is a good, clean design. You've got a lot of great info about the artist, and it's visually compelling. It's a clean site. But what about the event that I just clicked on? Right? I'm going to the country music concert with Dani Marie and Carter Winter on Wednesday, December 9th. And then I go to learn more about that event, and I'm taken to a Dani Marie page. Where's the event details? How do I buy tickets? What do you want me to do next? There's no clear call to action. Where's the button that says buy tickets? Where's the social proof? Where are those elements of the site? And I feel like this site was missing, even though the site was very professionally done. Example 4, DontCheto, San Diego, California. The landing page I got to when I clicked get tickets was this night out page. And it says log in. When I looked at this, I actually was just speechless. I hopefully, if the person that submitted this event is listening, I apologize. But I really didn't. I was like, what am I supposed to do here? So I have no idea what DontCheto is. And I have to sign in to even learn more. Don't do this. This is an example of what you should not do. Example 3. So a lot of people send their promotional links directly to the ticketing site. And you think, okay, well, I'm going to just send it right to the ticketing site because they're most likely to convert if they just go straight to the ticket site. And, there is some truth if you've already told the story. So good thing about this one, it's easy to purchase tickets. You've got a trusted ticketing platform. But when it comes to the event itself, there's very little content about the event. Now, maybe Disney on Ice, Frozen, has enough branding around it that you don't need it, and you're just going to buy tickets. And maybe the page or the ad explained enough that it told a good story and you're ready to buy. But when I come to this page, there's a lot of exit points on this page. I've got all the tickets now information across the top, right? I could click sports, concerts, theater. I've got like 6 different ticketing options. As soon as you've already told the story, you're ready to buy tickets. It's not very visually compelling, and there isn't a lot of urgency and scarcity created here. So, if you don't have time or can't build a site and all you have is the ticketing, use that. It's better to use that than not. But I really think you're missing a lot by not creating a good landing page. Here's example 5. So look at this one. I think, wow, there's a lot of color here. It's kind of a fun site. I like a lot of it. I think it's good use of colors to create emotion. They're using these bright colors. It looks exciting. It looks fun. They've done a good job of using that psychology of the colors. They've created a countdown thing that's maybe could have an intent of creating urgency, although it's really talking about just when the event is. It's not talking about the urgency around the tickets. Although if you look further down, you look at the sales end, it says promo ending one day. So, they're doing an okay in the urgency side. Ticketing's clear. You're going to buy tickets. But there's a lot going on this page. There aren't clear visual cues as to what to do next, versus like having a bright button that says purchase tickets. And there's no story. So why should I go to this New Year's party versus the one that's down the street? What I'm missing. So again, I think this is a good landing page because as far as a lot of the ones I've looked at, but I think there's some room for improvement here as well. Example 6. So this was an interesting one because I couldn't show the video, but if you go to this page, the Hamilton and American Musical, this guy actually walks across the star and then he points his finger up in the air. So the visual cues on this were amazing, I thought, because what does he want you to do? Well, your eye goes directly to get tickets, right? So the visual cues on this are really good. So strong visual cues, clear call to action. It's shareable. You see the sharing icons up at the top left. If you were to scroll down, there's some other good information. It's a good use of colors. It's a good use of white space. It invites you to learn more. It teases you enough to say, this looks interesting. I want to learn more. And then you've got this interactive video that draws you in. There is no sense of urgency created here, though. So maybe if they click to get tickets, you might get that urgency on the next step, but I didn't see it here. Example 7. I know a lot of you use Facebook pages as the landing page for your event. There's some pros and cons here as well, just like the ticketing. Some pros here is you can use it as a way to engage, to gauge engagement and interest, right? People can say, I'm interested in this event. I'm going to this event. I can invite others to go with me. But you have some of the same problems, right? You get a lot of the same, you get the exit points all over the place. I could have just clicked on it. Now I'm done. There's not a clear call to action. What do you want me to do next? I could click 3 or 4 different buttons. I could click show the map. I could go find tickets. And you lose a lot of the control in the creative process by pointing to Facebook. Facebook could be better than pointing to the ticketing site. Maybe. Kind of just depends on what's your goal here. Here's an example. So this is an Eventbrite page. And you've got this professional background. You have a clear call to action, which is the green button on the right. Although my mind, when I looked at this, I went top left, Eventbrite, to the right, create event, down to the bottom, get tickets. So even though there is a clear call to action on getting the tickets, the visual cues were because of the exit points created by Eventbrite, you actually are missing some of that visual cue and you don't have control over it. The text can be kind of hard to read. You got this white on white. Do you want to use Eventbrite as a landing page? Or is this something you do more as the ticketing side after you've already told the story? So, I liked it. It's good. It's better than some, but you lose a lot of the control you could get by building your own site or building your own landing page. Here's a user conference. So Infusionsoft's 10th annual user conference. There was a lot of things I liked about this site as well. You had this professional video background going on behind the scenes. You had this clear call to action, this green on black or dark color. You had a countdown timer that created a little bit of urgency. And then especially with like a B2B event, you need to provide a lot of information to the decision makers. So you've got an agenda that's coming out and there's sponsorships. And you've got a few different audiences looking at this. But overall, I thought this was a good landing page for B2B type conferences. Only comment really was the video in the background can actually be distracting because while it provides the social proof and it's great, I'm watching the video instead of clicking on the button. And so you have to be careful with videos in that respect because they could actually draw you away from the problem you're actually trying to solve. This last example was probably my favorite example, and this is a big event, the EDC, and this is one they're doing in New York. But you had this professional video background in the back that just tells this really, really good story about just this. You get the social proof, you get the colors, you get the excitement of like, wow, this looks like an event I want to attend. You have this very clear call to action in the middle, buy tickets. You notice their secondary call to action, watch the teaser. They've used the colors right that way because you don't want them to click that button unless they're not sure that they want to buy the tickets. It's a highly shareable. They've got the social icons below it. Event details are very clear. It's May 14th. You have a very clean design. It's mobile friendly. Couple comments here. Sometimes, again, with the video, it could be a little distracting. I thought they did a much better job in this video than the previous website. But, where's the urgency? So I didn't feel the scarcity and urgency. And there's possibly you have too many exit points as well. You have a lot going on at the top. So, if I were to point somebody directly from an ad, I might limit some of that and focus on the thing I'm trying to get them to do, which is to buy tickets. So hopefully you're able to learn learn some good takeaways by going through those examples. As a reminder, the elements of a good landing page, you need a clear value proposition, you need a compelling story. You want to make sure event details are easy to find. Get a concise call to action, use contrast in that call to action. Easy registration ticketing process, mobile-friendly design, get shareable elements. If you can get something to go viral, you're going to save a ton of money. Your social proof, urgency, scarcity, clean design, limiting your exit points, all of that will help you create a good landing page. So now you've created the landing page, you think, okay, I've got this awesome page, it's going to just do great. Well, that's an assumption you're making because there's a great book called Tuned In, and there's a great line in it that says, your opinion, although interesting, is irrelevant, which means let the data tell the story. And for the build, measure, learn cycle, and this comes from a book called Lean Startup, you need to know your goals. You put together benchmarks to where you start. So, okay, here's my goals. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. And then once you have enough data, you want to analyze it and then optimize it. So I have a hypothesis. I'm going to go build the landing page, but then I need to make sure I measure and learn from it. Many, many people, especially online marketing, they're great at building, and then they don't do anything. They don't measure it. They don't learn from it. So their hypothesis could be totally wrong, and you're not converting anybody. You get 100 people to get on the site, nobody buys a ticket. And is it because the event was bad? Maybe, but most likely not. Most likely it's because we didn't do a good job of telling the story, and we didn't provide the cues and the information necessary to really create a good experience on that page. But once you have enough data, analyze it, optimize it. So there's some tools you can use to build landing pages. Obviously, you could hire somebody and you can have them do it for you, and there's professionals that do this. There's a lot of great agencies that do this. You can also purchase Unbound strictly does landing pages. All they do is create landing pages, and they have some really good reporting around the back end. WordPress, if you know how to code just a little bit, you can do a lot with WordPress, and they've got some really good templates. 10, $15, you buy the template, and you're 90% there. And they provide all the details, and there's some great options there. Google Analytics, it's free, so use Google Analytics to measure that behavior. Look at the funnel. Where are people dropping off? How many people are hitting that page, and how many are actually buying the tickets? And by putting your code on the website, you can get all this information that just you can leverage in your build, measure, learn cycle. They also have some really cool software called ClickTail or CrazyEgg. And what it's doing is it's monitoring click behavior. So it actually creates videos of people on your site. So it looks at, where are they clicking and where are they going? And, if you look at the one on the right, the CrazyEgg, you can see a lot of the mouse, the mouse went up to the Montana State University, and then came down to find, and then this search, right? They did a lot of search, and that's where people were going. And you can use this to see, hey, am I using my visual cues in the right way? Am I getting them to do the action I'm trying to do? And are they clicking where I need them to click? So there's some really cool things you can do there. And then A/B testing. You just A/B test everything you can. If you have a hypothesis, you can say, hey, my hypothesis, if I change this color from green to red, that I would get a better conversion rate. Well, change it and then see what happens. One great example here, you had a text versus a video testimonial. Which one's going to do better? And it turns out, in this case, the video testimonial produced a 25% increase in the number of people starting a trial. And this was a test that Unbounce did on their homepage to see which one actually produced more people starting a trial on it. And it turns out the video had 25% increase. So doing that A/B testing allowed them to find that out. Hopefully you enjoyed this webinar. It's a topic that we could all do better at, creating better landing pages, better experiences for our visitors. In summary, we talked about 3 different things. We talked about understanding the psychology of a landing page, using directional cues, using social proof, using color and white space, create landing pages that pass the blink test, get a clear value proposition, make it easy to purchase tickets, get a clean design, and then utilize that build, measure, learn feedback loop to make continuous improvements. Just because you have a good hypothesis doesn't mean it's working, and you may have to revise. I've been astonished at some of the things I've seen where these ugly designs, just the conversion rate on them is so much better than the crystal clean design. That's not always true. In fact, usually it's not, but sometimes it is. And it's all about your audience and building that emotion and creating that story in your audience that makes sense. So I think all of these are really important items and when you're thinking about building a landing page. With that, I'll turn to questions.
All right, we have just a few minutes, and if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in that panel. Looks like we have a couple in here. How important is it to have people in photographics match your demographic?
That's a great question. It's about social proof, right? The question here is, should the people on my website that I'm showing match the demographic I'm trying to reach? And the answer is absolutely yes. It's going to have a big impact on that social proof element, right? If your event is designed for 20-year-old males and you're showing 50-year-old women, they're like, so my mom's going to go to this, and you really miss that. So I think it is really important that you get the photographs to match your demographic, and it's just a way of leveraging social proof.
So going back to the Unbounce example, how easy is it to get something like that set up? Is that something that you need development experience to do?
So it depends on how complex you want to get. Many of these programs like Unbounce have just defaults, like templates you can use. And if you want to just use the basic templates, they don't require a lot of knowledge. If you want to go in and really do some custom coding and custom design around it, yeah, then you may want to try it on your own if you want, or get a a consultant or somebody professional build it for you.
Okay, here's a question. How far ahead of an event should you put the message out?
So I recommend at least 90 days. There is a cycle in the promotion, and when you're promoting an event, you have to create awareness around the event. And that awareness doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the results. So like if I launch a campaign 2 weeks before the event, it's going to probably be good, but I've lost all that time to create awareness. And I'm probably competing against other events as well. The way I like to think about it is I go, okay, we're going to create an awareness campaign, and then we're going to go to this discovery, and then we're going to go to this decision making. And we want to build campaigns all the way around that. So an awareness campaign, we might go and advertise on local newspapers and websites and maybe get into the radio or put a billboard. People aren't going to make decisions off of that. They're just going to be aware that you have an event. And they're going to say, okay, that looks interesting. I'm either interested or I'm not. And if I am, I'm probably going to go learn more. So then they're going to go to your website, and that's where you really got to capture them. And that's why the landing page is going to be so important, because that's where they're going to make their decision. And often, even after they make their decision, they may still go out and Google and say, hey, how do I get discount coupons for this event, right? And so you want to be in that search when they do that as well, because even though they're on your site, they may not actually purchase on your site. So you need to follow through with them, and there's some great remarketing things you can do. But in general, to answer your question, I think 90 days is best. The more time you have, the better, in short.
Okay, here's another one. What is the best way to manage sponsor logos and links on your landing page?
Okay, it's a great question. So sponsor logos and links. Kind of depends on your sponsors. If your sponsors help provide social proof and build credibility for your event, you may want to highlight them more than if they don't. The tricky part with sponsors is you might have an agreement that says, hey, I'm going to put my sponsors everywhere my event is. So it's going to be on the landing page, it's going to be in the emails, it's going to be everywhere you're promoting that event, and that's part of the deal of the sponsorship, right? I think you don't want it to take away from the core part, which is getting them to purchase the ticket and telling the story. So I would use it. Again, every event is different. Every landing page is going to be different. But I probably wouldn't give it a lot of real estate on your page, honestly. I would put it at the bottom or maybe on the left or something.
Okay, here's another question. Where do you find the balance of the number of messages to your audience or email list and not put them off? So achieving balance between messaging and sending out emails and things like that.
Okay, so I'm looking at this question and I could interpret it two different ways. So maybe I'll address it two ways. Number of messages to your audience could be perspective, like how many times do I hit them up before I become annoying? And I've sent them 10 emails and now they've blacklisted me and cursed my firstborn child. Or the other way I could look at this is I'm sending different messages to the same people. And does that confuse it? So really it's about the tolerance level of the people you're trying to reach. Some demographics have higher tolerance for advertisement than others do. Spam and many like email, people are just used to it and they sometimes just tune it out, and so I mean you can have the same message. I know several sites, there's a company here locally called RC Willie, and they every week they're sending out direct mail, and most of the time it's not relevant, but sometimes it is. And that's what they're going for. They want to get you on the time that it is relevant. I'd be careful though. You don't want to abuse your system. You don't want to abuse the email. What I think is good is you send it out a couple days, send it out like a month before, then you send it out the week before, and then you send it out maybe the day before and the day of, and you got 4 emails. You've given enough chance to make a decision. That's probably good. That'd be my recommendation.
Great. So we just have time for a couple left. Here's one. How do you create a feeling of urgency and scarcity if an event does not require tickets?
Okay, so many free events would fall into this category, or maybe just a simple registration. Giveaways could create some urgency. So, the next 100 people that sign up will get a free shirt, or, the first, the same kind of thing, the first 100 people, that would create some urgency or scarcity. You could do a countdown to the event. We saw that on the New Year's Eve. Even though technically it's not really about the promotional offer, there's still a feeling of urgency. Or putting a timer on the ticket page where it says you've got 5 minutes to make a decision. And if it's a registration page, it still has the same psychological element to it where, hey, I've got 5 minutes to make a decision. Or even just saying like we're only capacity is 3,000, even though you could take 10,000. And you kind of artificially change the numbers to create some urgency and scarcity.
Okay, thank you. So we have one last question here. What is a common challenge that beginners to this type of event marketing face that you would want us to be aware of? So any common challenges for beginners that maybe rookie mistakes?
Yeah, great question. You don't know what you don't know is kind of the reality for beginners. So you look for cues around people that have done something similar. What I would do if I was an inventor or a beginner and I'm looking at this, one, I would think of my own network and say, is there anybody I know that has done this before? If so, let me take them to lunch and just go pick their brain. Because they're going to provide a lot of answers that you had never thought about and problems that you had never considered. So, look at your network of people and if there's somebody that knows how to do this or have done it before, talk with them. I think that's a great way. There's tons of data online about these topics. A simple Google search can get a long way. I know here, even at SpinGo, we blog, we put out 2 blog posts a week, and there's some awesome content about event marketing. About there's a great one we talked about the safety of your events. So we're not the only company that does that. So you look at the forums, look at the places, do some research. With landing pages specifically, if you're feeling, if you're the entrepreneurial type, but just go try it. Download WordPress and play around, or do a free trial of Unbounce or any of these software, and just learn as much as you can. If you've never done marketing, like online marketing, and you want to go advertise on Google, I definitely recommend talking to somebody first or going with a consultant. And the reason is because you could lose your shorts really quickly. You could find out you're spending $1,000 and you've got nothing out of it because you didn't put your right demographic in. And that I've seen that happen many times in just my own consulting. So leverage expertise, I think, is really the bottom line there. And the last question here is, how can I hire you? You want to hire me specifically? You can definitely hire SpinGo to help with landing pages and design. Although that's not definitely our, we focus more on the promotion side. But if you want that, we do have some options. We have some good partners that we could help you. And then, we would be happy to help with individual questions. Reach out to even one of our sales managers, and I'm sure he can get that to me, and I could be happy to look at your site.
Thanks, Jesse. That's all the time that we have. If we didn't get to your questions, or if you have any other comments, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm Jeff Liu. You can respond to your registration email to this webinar, and I will get back to you. A huge thanks to Jesse for being with us and sharing his thoughts and ideas, and thank you all for tuning into this webinar. Again, I invite you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We're going to be sharing other helpful ideas there and articles for you guys. And that's it for today's webinar. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a great holiday season, and we'll see you next time when we pick this back up in January. Thank you.